And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is me talking about The Warrior Season 2, full of spoilers and the possibility of where Season 3 could go. So Season 2, we see so much happen with our main protagonist. We see new actors, new protagonists added in. I quite like where the story went into Mexico, I believe. I think the whole set pieces of that I thought was fantastic, but the character relations that they started, that the writers made us like. We have our main protagonist with a relationship, and they have like this great love scene, and then immediately afterwards they just kind of kill her off, and I was so surprised by that. That really took me back, because I totally figured, having seen her running the fight pits, where our hero is fighting in. We get to see some great action showpieces. We see how he's basically remembering that fight that he almost died in, and he's got something to prove. And so we see this relationship form over a few episodes, and then we see her having her own agenda for what happened to her, who killed her family. She gets revenge using our main hero and his men, I guess, even though they're not his men. And so he's obviously upset with that, but they're totally in love, and you totally believe the relationship, and you think maybe it's going to go somewhere. And then she dies like that. And I thought that was a very brave thing for the writers to do. It's one of the things that Stephen King always says with good writing: you have to kill your darlings. But I didn't want her to die, because I thought she was a really interesting character. I would have loved to see what they would have done with that dynamic. There are so many great action sequences, but what I was most surprised with about was how they were stepping up the gore from season 1. I don't know if you caught it, but it's very quick. There's some like throat grabs. We see the throat being ripped out. You see arms being dismembered, and you see people's necks being snapped. And I was amazed at the prosthetics. The prosthetics in this is fantastic, but having to build full head prosthetics and arms and torsos, and I can't remember the last time I saw a series where you get to see a lot of the action. Normally they kind of cut away and you hear the scream, and then it comes back to the fighting. Here I feel like I was watching a lot of the brutality, the stabbing. So they must have had a hell of a lot of work to deal with all those prosthetics, especially that one kind of, I think it was a flashback, and we get to see this lady sawing through a leg, and I was just like, oh, I was cringing so much because of that particular scene, because it felt like you were watching it. You heard the bone grinding as the saw was going through the bone. It felt so brutal and so real. That happened a lot throughout this series. We have the protagonist who owns the brothel, and when she fought the two brutes, they were massive dudes. This is a prime example of the fight scenes that you have in this series. So brutal, so hard hitting, and you're so on her side. Well, I definitely was. I wanted her to win. And at no point did I feel like she had the upper hand. Just when she managed to get a punch in or a stab in, she would get knocked down or get hammered with like a really massive punch. And so these fight scenes throughout season 2 definitely feel really real. They feel hard hitting. Every fight scene also has a purpose, so that there's emotional baggage with your characters behind them. So when you get to see the nunchuck scene, you're so for it. So when we reach episode 9 and we have the Bruce Lee moment with "Can I borrow these nunchucks?", which was fantastic, loved it, and we get to see him take on all the Irish fighters, was amazing. Loved it. Reminded me of that ping pong scene with Bruce Lee when he's playing ping pong with, I think, like one of the world's experts at the time, and he's just whipping that ping pong ball back. I was like, yeah, this is fantastic. A real great homage to Bruce Lee. And so we had that reveal that he is, in fact, there's the brother and sister relationship that one side didn't know. And so we see the repercussions of that. We don't quite know what's going to happen with our protagonist, where he's going to be. We have that Muriel, where he's kind of gathering, he's garnering his own, I guess, following, where people see him as a hero. And that, I think, is going to play a part in season 3, if we get one. I think he may go his own way, have his own following, have people lead him. Hopefully we might see a martial arts school. I always thought that was where it's going to go, because our hero has come such a long way. He's grown as a character. He's not necessarily a good character, but sometimes there's a light that shines on the good side more than the bad side. So the playing fields, he's fighting for what he believes is right. He's fighting for his people. Often what he does or how he does it is not really great, but in this world, it's a really hard place to live, and you got to do what you got to do to survive. I love the fact that Shannon Lee is all over this. I feel like you feel the authenticity of Bruce Lee's writings, and I think that comes down to his daughter being involved in all of that. The ending, we see one of the main bad guys jailed, and it looks like he's going to escape. We also see Nellie Davenport being put in a psychiatric hospital. She has had her whole world turned upside down. Her factory has been destroyed. Her husband has been killed, but her husband tried to kill her first. Her, I think it was her butler or her, we had that hanging. That's kind of started the whole kind of faction fighting against each other. The big culminax of the big fighting scene, which we're all expecting. I expected it to be in episode 10, but it was 9. It's kind of a refreshing way to do that, and you wrap up everything that's happening within episode 10. And so we see our hero, our protagonist. We don't know what's going to happen with him. We also see our main characters all at like different points. At no part does this feel like this is an ending. It feels like there definitely needs to be a season 3. This isn't a completion. Something has stopped them fighting, but it's all definitely kind of smoldering in the background. We see the new mayor, who's, that guy's been conniving his way throughout. He's like this sniveling weasel, basically calling him Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. He's that guy that is like an earworm in your ear the whole time, just telling you how to do things, maneuvering himself, and eventually we see him come to power, which I expected to happen, and how much worse he is than the previous mayor. And so we have all these people, these political people, these people that are in power. They're positioned at all various different places, and none of their stories feel complete. So, season 3, I predict that we will have a new faction, a new school. I predict that we'll see a storyline with Davenport's sister trying to rescue her and claim her heritage again. I feel like we're going to get someone trying to assassinate probably the Irishman, because I feel like the Irish guys really feel like they've been hard done by, that they haven't been looked after by the people that said they were going to look after them. We have the policemen who are trying to clean up their act, but there's a lot of, obviously, they got to do what they need to survive as well. And so no one is good, so they're not good either. We have one of the policemen who's quit, and we're seeing him going into do his own kind of grouping. And I feel like he may end up being one of the best good guys, fighting for the Chinese possibly, or fighting for whoever he feels is actually right. And so we'll have all those moving pieces once again. I love how this series does deal with so many moving pieces. It's great to see how they kind of draw it into the episode, into the main arc. I really do hope we get a 3rd season, at least to kind of finish off all the stories, because I feel like it deserves that. So do me a favor, share these reviews around, share the trailers around, let all your buddies and friends and families know about this series if you like it. Do chat to me in the comments below. What was your favorite kind of spoiler moment of things that you didn't expect to see one of the characters, what about the characters dying? Which were you hoping that they would survive, or who are you hoping that would finally peg it? Chat to me in the comments below. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.